all we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
In 1958, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was stabbed in his ribcage with a letter opener that was 7 inches long. That was the year that I was born. I was born into a world that I didn't create, a world of strife. My innocence was attacked daily. I didn't know. I was a child named Charles Alexander, born to a mother, Marie Alexander. The world continued to evolve as I grew up. I remember vividly being 8 years old, watching television. We only had 3 channels back then. And seeing scenes like this. And wondering what the people had done that they deserved this kind of treatment. I was only 8. And when I was 8, I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. Oh my God, that's me. Oh my God. A life that has to be lived with constant scrutiny. A life that has to be lived being looked at from far away as the other. he was gone. "50 years has not dulled the pain. My mother is a true social justice warrior. The first woman in the New England region was responsible for the enaction of the EEOC's initiatives. The man in that picture, the black man with the glasses, was a predator. I have books that my mother wrote of her day-to-day interactions with the predator. You have movements, you have Me Too, you have Black Lives Matter. Brand new, right? A new concept for you. I've been living this concept since I was born. It's not new. But I had to pay it forward. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., on those black and white televisions, in those speeches, transformed me into someone that had something to say. How would I say it? Would I be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, an astronaut? I went to a school in Boston called Boston Latin School. Anybody ever heard of it? It's the first public school in America. Class 92. Class of 69, no, 75. I'm old. At Boston Latin, I was introduced to the clarinet, and that eventually became a relationship with the saxophone and the flute. It came kind of naturally, and there were a lot of people that I was looking at in the media that looked like me, and their special talent was music. So the decision was made. That will be my vehicle. That's how I will communicate to the world. Groups like Kool and the Gang, the Commodores, the Ohio Players, Tower of Power. I will play every reed, every saxophone. I will become the best, the most magic saxophone player you have ever heard. And when you listen to me talk, I will talk about Martin Luther King Jr. The world changed. The synthesizer came along and moved the horn players from the front of the stage. I woke up one day and they were in the back. Tower of Power had Lenny Williams. Kool and the Gang had J.T. Taylor. I bet you guys didn't know that our friend from the Commodores, Lionel Richie, was an alto player. He put his horn down and started singing. By the time I finished college, I was clear. I was put here to do something, to say something. By any means necessary, I was going to say it. Even if I had to rub my body down with Vaseline and spread glitter on myself. Because it's all about the funk, baby. P-Funk ruled in 1979 when I put out my first record. You see that instrument in my hand? That's called a Lyricon. It's a wind synthesizer. I had enough smarts to realize that the saxophone and the flute had a relationship with the future. I was shown that relationship by Rahsaan Roland Kirk, a blind saxophone player that had 2 Lyricons in front of him when I went to see him at Paul's Mall in Boston. He didn't play them that night. But I have enough understanding of the continuum of music and musicality, the continuum of technology, the continuum of the human condition, that that's where I needed to be. I put out my albums, and I called myself Prince Charles, partly because I'm the son of a queen. Hey. Partly because I had studied political science and read a book called The Prince and the Discourses by Niccolo Machiavelli. Partly because I had gone to Boston Latin and felt like I had a princely education. My life has been full of wonderful, magical moments, but it has also been colored by an overarching theme. America is not at its best yet. It's an experiment. It's evolving. Hopefully, we will evolve it to a better place. Music, my medium, has been evolving from the synthesizer. The first drum machine, programmable drum machine, came out in 1980. It was the Linn LM1, followed shortly thereafter by the Roland TR-808. These drum machines transformed music. Now, let's go back to 1980. You're a drummer. You've been practicing the drums for 10, 15 years. I'm a manufacturer of this thing called the Linn LM1. I come in and say, hey, Mr. Drummer, here's a drum machine for you. Not. What are you, insulting me? You trying to say I can't keep time? I'm supposed to integrate with this piece of technology? You see, it wasn't that easy. Bumping into the future, bumping into innovation, is a difficult task. It's for the open-minded. It's for those willing to take a journey that has not been trod yet. The drum machine is followed shortly thereafter by a protocol called MIDI, moving at 31.25 kilobits per second. Yeah, I know that stuff because I teach it. That communicates the subdivision of music down to 960 pulses per quarter note. All that means is that we've gridded out human performance. Did I go past? I'm like nervously bumping into this thing? Okay. We've gridded out human performance. We've figured out the genome of the mechanics of human performance. Not only did the technology change, but the music changed. In 1979, when I put out my first album, another record came out called Good Times by a group called Chic. That record came out in August. In October, a transformational adaptation of that record came out called Rapper's Delight. Hip, hop, the hibbit, to the hip, hip, hop, you don't stop rocking to the bang, bang, boogie, so up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie beat. Now, what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, my friend, and the groove are gonna try to move your feet. What the heck? Where's the melody? Where was the harmony? And that's not even your record. That's Nile Rodgers' record. I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. Totally stupid, totally non-innovative. That's what I thought. I was a musician. My world was do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. My world was major chords, minor chords. I started out as an arranger, but my curiosity started getting the best of me. I was hearing records from this Rapper's Delight aesthetic that changed and became It's Like That by Run DMC with just a drum machine and a bass. Something weird was going on. I studied for 10 years to play melodies and harmonies. And now I'm assaulted by this thing that has no relationship to what I learned. A whole new value. It was so easy to just want to run away, become the turtle, hide in the shell. But I wanted the biggest record in the country. In order to do that, you have to understand how entrepreneurship reaches its biggest audience. If Run DMC could reach a huge audience, I wanted to know why. I bought the drum machine. I bought MIDI. I bought sequencers. It wasn't enough. I didn't have a commitment to hip-hop. I didn't have a commitment to what this music meant to a culture that had been looking at itself in the mirror for 400 years. How can I hook up with this culture? I sat and thought. One day I was on stage with my glitter in front of 30,000 people at Madison Square Garden, and I had a cathartic moment. They don't love me. They love what I represent. What is it that I represent? The only way for me to figure this out was to go to the source, and I went and talked to Nile Rodgers. He was in the studio. Then I talked to him on another day. He was in the studio. Then I talked to him on another day. He was in the studio. And another day, and another day, and another day. Nile was always in the studio. So I said to myself, self, how can you get in the studio every day? You got no money. Boom, light bulb. Become an audio engineer. So this story is about the human being who wants to communicate with all of you and who wants to tell you about the message of that man. Began as an artist, realized that there were more opportunities to include himself in music and music art forms by becoming an audio engineer. As an audio engineer, I worked with Puffy, Notorious B.I.G., 112, Faith Evans, Mary J. Blige, eventually Elton John, Sting, Aretha Franklin. The very thing that I thought was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard, the most insane art form I thought existed on the planet, had opened up a door for me. A door for me to be able to communicate with people. I didn't know that I was being innovative. I was just trying to make a successful record. In hindsight, hip-hop has been the most innovative genre in American music at the end of the 20th century. As of July 2017, it became the dominant genre in America. This thing that I thought was ridiculous had legs. Why did it have legs? It had legs because it's related to something, it is authentic, it has commitment. It might seem silly to you if you look at videos on BET. A co-opted art form. How do we unfold the co-opted art form? What is it that we're actually looking at? There are lots of layers to this onion. For me, technology has unfolded a way that the innovative spirit has looked at music and changed it. We no longer look at sound as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We look at sound as texture and timbre. Texture and timbre that can be augmented through multiple waveforms, sine, saw, square. The 12th root of 2 is critical for us to understand music. Not too many people know that the 12th root of 2 is 1.059463009. Not many people know that the log of the 12th root of 2 is 0.025085883. I did that on purpose so that the people that are fact-checking me can check it out. Because I'm speaking truth. The truth is, I had to look at myself and say, how do you evolve? How do you innovate? How do you look at your art form and continue to move with it, to flow with the continuum? One day I woke up, I was in the studio. I was the oldest thing in the studio. Everybody else was 18. I was 48 years old. We've done this already. We have the platinum records. We have the Grammys. I am who I'm surrounded by. I was surrounded by something that didn't reflect me. The authenticity had moved, shifted. Academia was calling me. It's been the best thing that I could have done at this point in my life. I'm still performing. I'm still sending the message forward. I'm still paying it forward. We have new heroes now. These heroes have evolved from the messages of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Those heroes have seeped into my life in ways that are incomprehensible. My wife, Candace. My twins, Chloe and Aiden. Shout out to my daughter, Katrina, and my son, Romeo. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. I have lived this aesthetic my entire life. As a college professor, I teach music production and engineering. The very thing that I was doing my whole life. I didn't even know that I was doing that. But that's what speaking your truth can reveal for you. People come into your life. They see your power. They feel your power. Where does that power come from? It sure doesn't come from this. It comes from something bigger than me. We have challenges ahead. We have places to go. A movement is revealing itself to us. Biff is one of those movements. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Thought I wasn't going to get up. I don't want to leave you on a bummer note, because this is not a bummer story. This is a story about hope and change. Change is the only constant. As we move forward with our lives, what is our bigger purpose? I wanted to do a brief review. Saul, I know I'm running over. But what we've learned today is that our imaginations fuel our fires so that we can look at our biostrategies and innovate the innovation using our words. We can tell the truth about power, trust, and community. We can be curious about others. We can move systems. We can move the criminal justice system. At one end, we have entrepreneurship with its high volume capacity. At the other hand, we have quiet observation. Both will be tools as we move forward to educate ourselves on cultures that stand back to back with each other. Hip-hop as an art form has informed me that I can diffuse tension with a banana. that I can show up for domestic abuse, sexual abuse, discrimination. We define ourselves by our humanity, not by our diseases. That's what we've learned today. I'd like to bring a friend to the stage. Quentin, let's bring him back up and make him party. Everybody say ho! Ho! Everybody say ho! Ho! Somebody, anybody, scream!
And I know she'll be the death of me, at least we'll both be numb. And she'll always get the best of me, the worst is yet to come. But at least we'll both be beautiful and stay forever young. This I know, yeah, this I know. She told me to worry about it. She told me to worry no more. We both knew we can't go without it. She told me you'll never be in love, 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 love. I can't feel my face when I'm with you, but I love it, but I love it. Oh, I can't feel my face when I'm with you, but I love it, but I love it. Oh, and I know she'll be the death of me, at least we'll both be numb. And she'll always get the best of me, the worst is yet to come. All the misery was necessary when we're deep in love. Yes, I know, yeah, I know. She told me to worry about it. She told me to worry no more. We both knew we can't go without it. She told me you'll never be in love, 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 love. I can't feel my face when I'm with